Holy shit. Today we run a trail half marathon. So today we are running our half marathon trail run. Woohoo! We have arrived at our Airbnb and we had, well, did you have a nap? I had a nap.
I had a nap.
We had a nap. We have had lots of water and now we are getting ready to go. I have warmed up mostly, like the pre-warm-up. I'll warm up a bit more before the actual run because we are like 2.5 hours away from actually starting the race. So we'll be warming up again later. And I will have a banana and probably another Nutri-Grain bar before I go. So we have some fuel in us and I'll show you what fuel I'm taking with me. I'll try to get as much footage as I can. I bought a GoPro yesterday purely for this. I'll obviously use it in other times, but especially today. And I've got my trail shoes that I am not confident that I'll keep on the entire time. I've worn them on 2 trail walks, but not hikes or runs. So, and they are running shoes for trail, but I don't know how they will hold up or how I'll just like them in general. So I've also got my Asics gel Kayonos, is that what they're called? I've also got backup underwear in case I shit my pants, and backup pants, and sports bra and shirts, everything really. I am wearing Indefinable label, of course, and my backup pair is the blue set, and I cannot shit my pants in those because it's way more visible. Let's go! About 35 minutes away from starting. Luke's warming up. So excited! I got my torch on my arm just in case. I don't think I'll need it for the first, maybe even 2 laps, but we'll see. Just don't want to be caught in a pickle and need it. Alright, well. I am just over 3 kilometers in and we're on a hill right now, and I found that my running pace on the hill is pretty much the exact same as my like focused walking pace, so I'm just walking to preserve honestly just my muscles. Energy wise I feel fine, but my shins and calves are already cooked. Probably not a good idea to wear these shoes first day or first time running in them on race day. Yeah. Holy shit. Okay. Now we're at the challenge of the downhill. Shit. Fucking blind. Oh, shit. Okay. Making up the time. Oh my god. Oh, shit. Alright, we've done 1 loop, 6.28 kilometers. We're gonna have my first gel now. I'm going to keep running and just have it little bits at a time because I can't really have it too fast for myself at least. Oh, gorgeous. We're about halfway now. 11.14 kilometers in. So halfway. Sun is going down. I don't know what time it is.
8:30 p.m. So we're an hour and a half in. We are 15.13 kilometers in, going up some hills now, so having my third and last gel. It's pretty fun. It's great views, fucking beautiful weather. It's stunning. I stopped to fill up my water at that after that last loop. So I'm on this is my second last loop, but I'm near the end of it. So I've got one more loop and then we're done. All right, head torches on, 16.88 kilometers in. I have a feeling that the track is going to be slightly under, at least on my watch. So I'm going to have to run a little bit extra because I saw Luke did that. I have 21 times my stair goal for the day, whatever that is. I don't know, I didn't set it.
I will have both when we get my macros by the end of the day. It is. Yeah.
You tell him.
Oh, I looked at the majestic white one. Talking about myself.
You? It's the sassy one? Is that the naughty one?
The sassy one.
Hello.
So majestic.
It is now the 2nd of January 2025. Whoa-wee. Happy New Year, firstly. I don't think I've actually spoken to you properly since I was actually running the race, maybe. But welcome. I'll do a little recap now, go over my splits, just debrief the whole situation, any lessons I've learned. I have not planned this, but I'm just gonna, recap because it's all pretty fresh in my memory. Firstly, I wanted to say that I enjoyed the experience and I'm just overall really happy with how I went about it, my mindset leading into it, because I felt super calm. I felt not nervous. I did feel nervous, admittedly, about bringing things there and forgetting things and just that kind of part of the process. When you go overseas, maybe you're excited to travel, but you're nervous that you're gonna forget something in your suitcase or forget your passport or something like that. I don't know. That's the kind of nerves that I experienced. But then once I was there, we were there early and I felt fine. And then it was and it was an underwhelming start in that it was not anxiety ridden, which is great for me because a big reason why I've probably left it as long as I have before doing actual dedicated races. My first proper running race, I suppose, was a run to cure, which was in a vlog as well at the start of December, or was it November? And it took me that long because I just felt so much anxiety around races because so many people, and although I still do not have the desire to do a big marathon race for in a city, unless it's an actual for a charity, then it feels like a better investment of my time and energy because it's for a good cause. The money that I'm paying to run that race is going to a good cause rather than just putting on a show to run a race, which is also fine, but it's just not good enough reason for me to step outside my comfort zone and be around that many people when I just want to run. Nothing against running races, just also not that interested in doing them unless it's for a greater cause or something like this where it was just also really, really fun. This race that we did on New Year's Eve was raising money for children suffering with cancer. So I was glad that was part of it, but also the whole experience in general was also enjoyable, which is amazing. Regardless of the results of the race, although I'm very proud of those and did better than I thought I would have, and went faster and everything like that. I also just enjoyed it, the experience, and that was something that was a priority over hitting a certain time goal. I was saying, like, I don't have a time goal, I just want to get it done this year, which is in turn a time goal, which is 5 hours, which was, I knew was very, very easily able to be done. I think even if I walked a lot of it, I would have been able to get that done, because I mean, you saw my time potentially, or you will see my time. I had a lot more time to spare if I wanted to get it within the year, since starting at 7 p.m. But I was then also thinking, like, okay, well, I think I can get it within 4 hours. That's my goal. But I knew it wasn't so far of a goal where it would bring me anxiety and make me feel like panicked and like I had to race to do it, because I don't like the idea of racing. I hate being competitive with other people because it's just not worth it, like, at the end of the day. But the actual run itself, so my time was, I think, let me actually get the proper data. So my official time for 21.11 kilometers was 2 hours, 53 minutes and 9 seconds. My average heart rate was 173 beats per minute. And my average pace was 8 minutes, 12 seconds per kilometer. And those numbers you don't often see together, because obviously it's a slow average pace, but as you saw in the videos, I was either running, I don't know what pace I was running at for like the stretches of runs, and then down hills I was flying at what my fastest pace was 4:07. So I was flying down those hills, and then I was just like speed walking at a like good consistent pace up the hills. And that was my strategy, because at the very start, I think it probably took me the first lap to properly warm up, and my shins was a bit sore, my calves were sore. And if you know my history of running the past couple of months, a couple of months ago, I had some issues with my shins, and I actually had to stop running or like really slow down and then really ease my mileage up really slowly. And they were an issue for a while, and the only really trail run that we had done, my partner and I, Luke, we did a 12-kilometer trail run a couple of weeks ago in training for this, and it was hard. Like, that felt really hard, and it was only 12 kilometers. So when I was thinking of the time that I would hit, it was based off that. And I think that, I can't remember, it's in a vlog, but it was like 9.5 minute pace or something like that, because yeah, we would run some of it, but all of the hills I would walk, because my shins were actually cooked. Like, I would go towards saying injury at that point, but at that stage I was healing from it. So in today, because my ultimate goal is my marathon in 8 weeks or something, I didn't want to injure myself or put myself out of training and need to recover for more than a week, or at least even that. I don't want to have to take a week off running, because my goal is the marathon. This was just a fun thing to do in between. So I came up with this strategy to just, walk steadily and at a good pace up those hills, use my arms. I was like, hey, no hands on the hips, because those arms really do help, I noticed. And then, fly down those hills, use that momentum, and then keep running at just a good pace, like a threshold kind of pace, I suppose. So not easy pace, unless I obviously needed to, but I don't think that I did. I don't know. So yeah, that's what's contributed to the slow pace, obviously subjective, but the 8 minute, 12 second per kilometer pace, which is like over a minute slower than my easy pace. So to me, and in comparison to my pace, it is like slow. And then my heart rate being 173, was it? Yeah, average. That's obviously quite high for something that's slower than my easy pace average, but it's because obviously those hills. So just to give you some perspective on that. So yeah, I hit sub 3, which I was not expecting to do at all. I was honestly like, obviously my goal was like sub 4, but I was thinking, due to my calculations of what I did in that 12-kilometer trail run a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was a month and a half ago, I'm not too sure, maybe 2 months. I was thinking it was going to be about 3 hours, 30 minutes that I would get it done in, but yeah, I'm stoked with that. But I did compare myself, especially after the race, Felt really good finishing it. But then after, I was like, oh, actually, so many people finished before me. I didn't see, I mean, there was a lot of people finishing after me, but there was also other races going on, like a 50 kilometer, full marathon, a 6-hour race and everything like that. So you can't really tell, I couldn't tell who was finishing after me that was in my race or not. And I didn't need to, because I was in the end just comparing myself. So yeah. Training effect. So my primary benefit of this, usually it tells you whether it's like an easy, like endurance building or a threshold. This says VO2 max. Interesting. I've never had that. Well, not that I've seen in my training benefit of this. It just like decides based off the heart rate ranges you go and everything like that. The total ascent. So they did advertise that it was 600 meters. It was actually 719 meters ascent, and then total descent. So this is just, ascent means like how far up you go. And not up, that's elevation, I believe. Elevation is where, like, how far high you go from where you start potentially, which was, max elevation was 234 meters. I think that's what elevation is. And then ascent is how far you go upwards across the whole course. So it was advertised to be 150 per loop, so 600 total. But because of that, it might have been partially because of that extra little bit we had to do to obviously round it out to get 21.1 rather than just, 20 kilometers, because it was 5 kilometer loops, but that first one was longer. But yeah, that was hard. You saw the videos, but yeah, those hills were pretty rough. Yeah, I think one day, like, I'd like to be able to build, if I wanted to continue with any kind of trail running, I would like to be able to build to at least run parts of hills. But obviously with my shins, I just didn't want to risk that. So it'd be after this marathon that I even worry about any of that stuff. Calories, doesn't fucking matter. I did have 3 gels, so that matters. I had my first one a little bit late. I might have said in the video, had it after the first lap. So about 6.1 kilometers in, I had my first one, and then I had my second one at the end of that lap. So only about 4 kilometers later, or 4 to 5 kilometers later, I had that second one because I had that first one a bit later. And then I had my third one at the end of the third lap. And I didn't go to the bathroom at all. I did fill up my water halfway, so after the second lap and after the third lap, because I used so much water. I think like that's why I wasn't going to the bathroom. I was just sweating it all out pretty much instantly, because a lot of, like, the first 3 laps was in the sun, and then the sun had gone down. I had put my lamp on, or headlight thing on for that last lap. I needed it for at least the last 4 kilometers, and fuck, it was kind of scary being that dark, especially the downhills, because it just looked like you were going to go off a cliff. You could see maybe 3 meters in front of you, and then maybe if there was like a reflector, you'd see that in the distance, but because that could be down the hill, you might not even see that. You might see someone's light up ahead of you, but I'm glad that other people had lights, obviously, for their own safety, but also because if I didn't see them, I would crash into them because I'd only see them 3 meters ahead, and it was so hard to slow down on those things. There was a kid that went and did 1 lap with his dad. I think it was like on the 3rd lap or something. And I was running down those hills. I let there be enough distance between us. Well, I thought that I did, but then he just stopped. And I was like, shit. He started running again, thankfully. And thankfully he's light. So he flies down the hills and everything. And he's young and he's having fun, and he wasn't racing. So he had a lot of energy. So he was fine to like get out of my way. Not my way. It's not my race, but not be hurt by me because I couldn't slow down. So yeah, that's good. It was easier as there was less people, or the people were more sparse going down those hills. At the first lap was the scariest going down the hills, probably because there was so many people around, but also when it was dark, it was also very scary because you could not see much ahead of you. But at least by that point, you've done it 3 times. This is your 4th. You've kind of mapped it out for the most part. And it was really fun going down those hills. I think even in the video, I was just smiling the whole time. I'm looking at my paces now. My slowest lap or kilometer was the 11th kilometer. So that was 11 minutes, 16 seconds. Oh, that might have been actually when I stopped for water though. So it would have been because obviously hills at that point, but because like the last part of each loop was also a big hill. So I was walking up that, and then I ran for a bit after that for maybe 500 meters, and then I stopped to fill up my water. That's probably why that was my slowest one. But my fastest kilometer, 6 minutes 17 seconds was my fastest kilometer. So honestly, that was probably a kilometer where I was running the whole time. I don't know. I don't remember. There's, yeah, a couple of like mixed times in there that makes me think I was running for parts of it and then had to walk for maybe a minute of it or something, which made it slow down. So I'm guessing my pace for when I was running, not that I was not looking, but I think it was probably around 6 minutes to 6:20 minute pace. So, which is like not easy it's like not my easy pace, but it's also not so far to be like a threshold pace. It's just like a comfortably hard pace, I suppose. My max heart rate was 189. I bet that was on the hills. I think that's basically it for stats. So yeah, at the very end, I was comparing myself because I just thought that I was very proud, like leading into crossing that line. But then as soon as I did and I finished and I got my medal, I was like, I don't feel satisfied. But I think that's not because of this race and not just because of comparing myself to other people there, but there's been a pattern of me being super hard on myself, especially mostly in regard to running, but in other areas of my life, especially in my career, even in my relationship, like thinking I'm not being a good enough girlfriend, and there's been that pattern. So it's a habit within myself that I've been working on, and it's been better, but it got pretty bad like maybe 2 months ago, and it's been not great since then, but it's been getting slowly better because I've become more aware of it and just trying to change my habits, like my thought habits and how I talk to myself. But I've just been in general hard on myself, so I'm just acknowledging what I'm saying and seeing where it's coming from, because there could be some truth to a lot of these things. Like, yes, I didn't run a lot of the hills, most of the hills. That's a point that I want to improve on, and the fact that I care about it that much means that like I care to improve that in the future when it's a priority after this marathon. But at the same time, I don't need to be a bitch to myself about it. So it's good that I am feeling these things, like not shame, not guilt, but like comparison. But I don't want to look at that to say like I'm inferior to anyone else. I need to change the narrative and change what that means and look at it as like, this is just telling me what I want. So it's just like jealousy. Jealousy when you feel jealous of someone else, what they have, the life that they have, what they seem like or whatever, how they feel. You're jealous because that's what you want. So it's nothing to do with that other person. You're not inferior to that other person. It's just showing you what you want out of life. And potentially you're not living in alignment with that. And I haven't been, but by choice. I haven't been training to run up hills. And that's something that I should implement if I want to run up hills. And I will one day, if that is still something that I want to do after this marathon. We'll see. I can't read that much into the future. Yeah, that's like the perspective that my logical brain is having. But also, obviously, there's already those patterns in my head. There's these like habits of talking shit to myself about myself, and that I am inferior because I was slower and didn't run all the hills, all of those stories. So I know that I'm aware of it, and I'm, working on changing my dialogue, but it happens over time. So I want to talk about it to normalize, I don't want to normalize talking shit about yourself or comparing yourself in this unhealthy way, but I do want to normalize that if that is the case, that you can acknowledge it and you can change it, and it's not going to be necessarily easy, but it's going to be worth it, and you're capable of doing that. And that's what I'm going through right now. And I also can feel start talking shit about myself because I had been in states where I've never, or not never, but I've been in better state of mind than this before. So I'm like, why have I gone backwards and started comparing myself again and started talking shit about myself? Because it felt like there was years where, for the last several years up until those couple of months ago, that I just was so confident and okay within myself and wasn't comparing myself to others. I felt like great on my own. But I also acknowledge, and I said this in an episode on YouTube, in my podcast, Be a Weapon, on Instagram, maybe on a YouTube channel video, where like some of the lessons that I learned from this year was not to take, or I don't have to take, other people's opinions of me as truth. So I've also now acknowledged that like earlier in this year, I have taken on other people's opinions of me as truths when they weren't, and they weren't productive for me, and they just weren't true. There was someone else's perspective, or what I just thought their perspective was, at least by how they were treating me. And that's not a reflection of necessarily what I deserve, but just their perception and their conditionings of like how to behave to certain things. So, but it's my responsibility to whether I take that on, and I took it on, and then it's led to comparing myself because I've let myself become unsure of myself due to those things. So it's a bit of a flow and effect, and that's why I've quote unquote gone backwards in that avenue. But I haven't gone to rock bottom because I'm still aware and I am doing something about it. So this isn't necessarily just to do with running, but like just in general life advice, like you are capable of changing your mindset and how you feel about yourself and how you go with comparison. So yes, that's what I wanted to talk about in regard to that. Would I do one again? Yes, I would. There's not much to say about that. I enjoyed the actual experience itself. I would do it again, maybe next year on New Year's Eve again, because they do that every year, but I don't know. But it was fun. So yeah, I would probably do it again. I would do maybe a full marathon one, or the 6-hour one sounds kind of fun because like you just go for as long a distance as you can within a 6-hour period, which is really cool. That is my recap of the whole experience. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's something that I want to document more of these things. Not that I do them often. I've documented all the ones that I have done, except for like a Spartan race 4 years ago. But yeah, I like these kinds of videos, like watching them, but I also like creating and looking back at my own videos in life. So I thought it would be cool to try and make something that's a more coherent production rather than just a regular schmegular vlog. Not that there's anything wrong with those. Love those. We'll continue to do those. But I just wanted to try something a little bit different with this one, and hopefully, well, I know that in the future, once, you know, I have the financial means to do so, I'd love to, you know, have someone following me and like filming like more documentary style, I suppose. Not that I'm necessarily going to go pro runner, but just, you know, for the sake of that's really cool. I just like it. This just sounds like a cool thing to do. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of this. If anything, just like go live the life that you want. You can spend your New Year's however you want. You can spend your time however you want, just as long as you know that you have the power of choice. Then that's good, because you're either choosing to not do something that you want to do, or you're choosing to do something that you want to do. At the end of the day, you should feel empowered that you chose. One last thing that I did want to tell you before I end this vlog, because I wanted to put it somewhere on YouTube, but I suppose this was just the best vlog to put it into because it's the last vlog of 2024. Obviously, I'm uploading it 2025, but it's for 2024. And what I wanted to share was, I guess, my running wrapped of 2024. I won't be obviously going into detail, but just the highlights essentially of how many kilometers I ran within the year. So I had to do some calculations because it's not all in one place. On my Garmin, it's all synced up to Strava, so that's easy enough, but also it's on Garmin. So on my Garmin was 593.9 kilometers. And then on my Apple Watch from earlier in the year, the first 3-4 months of the year, 3 or just under 3 maybe, 129.59 kilometers. So total, I ran in 2024, 723.49 kilometers. Amazing. I think the year prior to that, I did figure this out at some other stage, was like less than 100, I guess. And every year prior to that was less than 100 and increasingly less as the years went back. And within those kilometers, I ran 3 half marathons. The first one was in March, and that was just on the road by myself. And then the second half marathon was when I ran my 22-kilometer long run 2 weeks ago or so, or a week ago today actually. And then my last one was the one in this vlog. So yes, And this year, I was about to say next year, there's a lot more running to come. And I will take you along the entire thing. Let's go.